along this path that I've been on for the last 7, 8 years, I would say, um, I, I've bought, I've sold, I've flipped, I've renovated, but I've never built.
Okay. So this is a new endeavor.
For me, this is a new endeavor to actually get into the.
Welcome, welcome. I'm Andrea Peart-Williams to the 5% podcast, where we have conversations about individuals who are a part of or on their way to being a part of the top 5% of individuals who pursue their goals relentlessly, ensuring their success in whatever their endeavors are. Today's topic is about Natashia, who is a real estate investor and has been building wealth for herself today and for her family, her children, for generations to come. I'm so excited to introduce to you Natashia and her story of how she's been able to be successful in a fairly male-dominated field. So let's get started.
Natashia Palmer, you have been doing amazing things in the real estate industry. You've defied the odds that women, Black women, can break barriers and be successful in real estate. You have also educated yourself. You went on to university. You studied sociology at the University of York, and I think that that's probably enabled you to be very successful in the real estate industry. Do you want to comment on that?
Definitely, because it has taught me definitely like how to maneuver myself when I'm coming across different types of people in their mindset, in the way that they think, of how to conduct myself and how to have conversations that are fruitful, like how to have conversations that will bring things to another level as to where I'm trying to go. And it has also taught me when I get a no to keep going, right? Because everybody has a different point of view of how they see things, but just because they may not be in alignment with my vision, and with where I'm trying to go, it doesn't mean that I just stop at that and give up. Like I keep going.
Yeah, and I think in real estate and investing and entrepreneurship, perseverance is key, right? It's really important, and I totally understand that. I'm not a no. You can say no to me all you want, but I'm going to push forward and find a way to accomplish what it is that I want, or to find the yes.
Yes.
So I do think that I studied psychology in university, so I absolutely understand how psychology and sociology has been instrumental in how successful that you've been. I can see that, right? Because I know it from my own experience. But you've also come from a family of entrepreneurs, which is very unique.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not commonplace, and I think that has aided in the experience that you've had, because you've spent over a decade developing the skill set, the mindset, the knowledge of being in business.
Yes.
And you watch someone who you probably looked up to, your father.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And do you want to comment on that as well?
Yes. My father was a real trail blazer.
Absolutely.
In both the beauty supply business and real estate, because he was a definite firm believer in owning real estate. He was never the type of person to have his business and just be renting from a landlord. He always wanted to be the owner. And and that's exactly what he did. He kept buying properties, especially along that Eglinton strip, where
in Toronto, in the Toronto area.
He kept buying properties along there, and held on to them for a long time. We also branched out in Mississauga, and he bought properties there, and we branched out in Scarborough, and he bought a plaza in Scarborough.
So he pretty much wanted to spread his wings across the greater Toronto area, and the buildings that he ran his beauty supply business in they were all owned.
all owned.
Love
All
it.
owned.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
that was just his mindset,
Yeah.
right? Only the best.
Yeah.
Right?
It makes sense though. I absolutely said to anyone that I've ever met that if you're going to run a retail store or business,
Yeah.
why not own the real estate?
Yeah. Part of it.
Part of it.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to pay all of it on your own because you can lease out some parts of it and generate income.
Exactly. But he didn't just also like just do it for himself and his family. He would always encourage other business owners to do the same,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you don't know what's going to come 10, 20 years down the road, right? And
so the other business owners in the same area that he was always saying what he was doing to encourage them to do the same.
it was because when the buildings would come up for sale,
Mm-hmm.
he would encourage them to buy it.
Makes sense.
And a few did, not much,
Yeah.
and many did not.
Yeah.
So
It's so much. You're like, I think that in real estate, the value of it goes up so much, so substantial and quick,
Yeah.
that if you're already building a profitable business like
Mhm.
the beauty supply store and adding real estate to it, like
Yes.
you just magnify. It's like 10 times the wealth that you're building for your family.
but you see, he understood the mindset,
yeah.
right, of the value of real estate, because most people, they don't like, okay, yes, you'll own your home, but to go outside of that to have
That's right.
investment property, they don't want to do it because they don't want to take on the excess debt
And risk.
and risk.
Yeah, people
Right?
feel it's too risky.
So like when you approach some people, if their mindset is a certain way, you will tell them, maybe you should, whatever, and they're like, oh no, I'm okay with
Mm-hmm.
just paying the rent.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I think that helped you. That
Yeah.
your father, his entrepreneurial spirit, and just willingness to go out and forge his path, because it's not something he learned from others or from school. Like I was a school teacher. I never learned this stuff in school.
Yeah.
So I think it's amazing. But you've also, beyond what your father's passed on to you over the past 7 years, you've actually been doing big things in real estate. You have built, in addition to what you learned in the beauty supply business, you've now expanded into residential real estate,
Yes.
Commercial real estate.
Yes.
And so tell us about those units, or maybe what you've done there.
Well, like currently, I have 2 mixed-use commercial buildings, and currently, like I have 2 commercial tenants that are there. So my plan is to expand the residential part by adding more levels to it. However, because like along this path that I've been on for the last 7, 8 years, I would say, I've bought, I've sold, I've flipped, I've renovated, but I've never built.
Okay. So this is a new endeavor.
For me, this is a new endeavor to actually get into the building part, especially well, it's an addition, but it's being done in Toronto, and all the things that you have to know, the building codes, the drawings, like the permits, like all these things. So I, by connecting with you and Canva, which has been like 360 for me, 100%, like from a year ago till now.
Yes. So let's step back a moment, because I think what people don't understand, what you did was you decided to not just do this alone, because you've done a lot alone,
Yeah.
And you learned it alone, but you figured to endeavor into developing and building,
Yes.
that you would invest in yourself and get coaching and consultation.
Yes. I had
Yes.
to do that. Yeah. Because I just did not want to get into a situation by where I'm throwing money at something and I don't know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and I don't understand, right?
Yes.
So I said to myself, it's better that you get some coaching, learn what you need to know, and before you start getting to this venture, right? Because it's like I said, I've never done building addition development. I haven't done that before. This is like would be my first time. So I'm just saying that
And renovations is very different. So
It's
the flips,
completely
yeah,
different.
it's completely
it's
different.
completely different.
Yeah.
It's completely different. So meeting you in Canberra like about a year ago and going to your events,
Yes.
which I encourage everybody to go. Okay.
I
encourage
totally
it.
agree with you.
100%.
Yes. Because I remember when you came to the first event, how motivated and inspired you felt.
Yes.
Yes. Because before that, to be honest, we weren't doing live events ourselves. Like we had lived through a pandemic. We'd lived through and built our business through a period where we never saw anyone outside of a Zoom call or a Google Meet.
Yes.
It was all online.
Yes.
But the power of live events is what you're speaking to.
Yes. And seeing you guys on Facebook. Yeah. I saw you guys on Facebook. And I called, and then we have the first meeting, and then you had encouraged me to come to the event, and it was the best decision I've ever made.
Yeah, I think we met several months before you actually ended up coming on board.
Yeah. And then from there, I connected with somebody who introduced me to Future Build, and I was a part of that program for the last couple of months, which was an eye-opener in addition, and just gaining all of the knowledge and putting it all together. I can definitely tell you that when I'm talking to a professional, an architect or a broker or whatnot, they can throw terminology at me and I know what they're referring to.
That's right.
A year prior, if they were to talk to me about certain things, like it would just go over my head because I didn't know.
Yes.
So
let's put in perspective too. The Future Builds program was specifically designed for, like, maybe you can explain what that is.
Yes, the Future Build program was designed for minorities who want to get into real estate from a development standpoint, and they have educated all of us with the projects that we have and have been trying to assist us through various resources that we can, and to people with resources or whatnot who are currently in the industry and doing things, and connecting us with them so that we could talk to them and understand more of real estate from a development side.
Yes.
And I found it was extremely helpful.
And that was their inception. You just had the benefit of getting started as they were rolling this out, this program.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know Kemba participated in that.
Yeah, she
found
did.
it. Wow. Like it was amazing stuff. Because you were networking with individuals, like you said, who are already immersed in the development space. They're doing it. They're connecting you with the developers, the finance, the institutions that can help support you, the different, so, and I mean, it's real estate as vast as it is, going into development is even a more broader, field. So amazing. So maybe while we're at it, let's focus on, like, what is it, you have a project on Eglinton that you spoke to earlier. What is it that you want to accomplish in that space? I know that you spoke to developing it and building it up in terms of the residential space.
Yeah, just residential. So I'm hoping that by adding 2 more floors, I will be able to get at least 30 residential apartments.
And right now you have how many?
Right now I have like 8.
8?
Yeah.
8 to 30.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, like, really all that you're doing is taking the same space, same area, and you're just multiplying it and growing up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not making it seem simple or easy, but it really is. It's the same building.
Yeah.
You're just getting the approvals and the permits to allow you to go up and add floors and to intensify and add to a much needed city, a much needed province, more units.
Yes.
Right? Because Ontario is lacking units and housing.
Yeah, affordable housing.
And affordable, right? So that's amazing. That will, I mean, was this something that you already...
This was something that I planned 5 years prior.
Oh,
It was always a dream.
Yes. But now it's going to become a reality.
Now it's going to become reality.
Yes, that's awesome. Okay, well, I think that is amazing, and I can't wait. We're gonna be there. I know that we've already been on site and seen some of it, some of what the skeleton looks like, and how you're gonna get to that. And it's just too time consuming. It takes more time than we anticipate.
Yeah.
But we're gonna take a break.
Okay.
And we're gonna come.
Enjoying our podcast? Stay connected beyond the episodes by following us on our other social media channels for exclusive content and updates. Don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, and share to help us grow and reach even more listeners. Your support means the world to us. Let's keep the conversation going.
But yeah, I think that it's really, really important that we encourage our kids to pursue their passions, because there is a level of, you know, I as much as I'm proud that you did away with the 9 to 5, I agree with you. If it wasn't what you wanted, there might have been something else that you could have pursued and enjoyed and been more passionate about.
Yes.
But you didn't fully continue with the family business.
No,
You
because I was in it for a good while. Because when we had started, we only had like one location, and then my the expectation was given to my brother the same thing. So because he did economics at UFT,
Okay.
and he was expected to come and run the business, right?
Mhm.
And then I went and ran a business. So we were there maybe for a good 10 years or so.
Yeah.
Before expansion started after that. Because after that we had 2 more locations, and one in Scarborough, one in Mississauga, one in Toronto. And then we had a warehouse in Toronto, which I primarily ran with my brother along the side. So the business expanded tremendously when we actually came in.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And
And this was a beauty supply.
It's a beauty
business.
supply, yeah. Yeah, so
Okay.
it was very popular, very well known.
Mhm.
We had a lot of customers. And it did really, really, really well, like exceptionally well.
Mhm.
But then changes happened. I had kids.
Mm.
And it was
And
more,
this is 3 locations in a warehouse.
yes.
And you're a single mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
That would have been challenging.
when the family structure changed,
Mhm.
that's kind of when everything kind of shifted and changed.
Mhm.
But then at that time, I was kind of like pulling away. Well, I had to, because I had to like look after my kids. I couldn't be in the business the way how it was. And
The reality, I mean, the demands of a family and children is
Yeah.
so different than,
Yeah.
especially running a business. It wasn't like you had a clock, you had 9, you went from 9 to 5, it shuts off and you go home, right?
Right.
And weekends are yours. A business is all the time.
yes, but business is like having another child.
Full time.
It is full
all
time.
the time. It's on your mind.
All time,
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And my first kids, they were twins.
I didn't
So,
even know
yeah.
that.
I
Wow.
had 2 boys. They were twins.
What?
My first try.
So,
Right.
yeah, so even like a double whammy.
Yes. It was a double whammy. So the family structure started to change, right? I couldn't attend to the business the way I used to. And you're a single mom, you have 2 kids at the same time, and you're trying to navigate and understand. So then that's when I started to have more interest in real estate.
I was saying, I wonder what led you to that. Now, I know you had mentioned, though, that your family did have some real estate holdings,
Yes.
but it wasn't their focus, because the beauty business, beauty supply business was the focus.
Was the main focus.
Yeah.
But my dad,
Mhm.
this like the entrepreneurial spirit that I have comes from my dad. Because even though he was running a beauty supply store, he was always interested in real estate. So
Yeah.
he would buy up a lot of real estate during that time, like about 10, 15 years ago. I mean, and it's like every location that we had the beauty supply store in, we owned it.
Love it.
That's the way he thought.
Makes sense.
Yes.
I always say to people that are going into retail, you're going to run a business. Why not buy the space, right? Because you don't even have to use all of it. You can even lease out some of it so that you're generating income from it while you're running your business. You're a smart man.
Yes. He owned every single piece of real estate that the business was in. And then he had bought like some residential and was renting them out. Right? So he was a firm believer in real estate. And he always told me that you can never go wrong with purchasing real estate.
I could have almost finished that statement for you. I was like, it's so true.
Yeah,
You could never
go wrong.
Yeah.
You could never go wrong. And he would always tell me that. So, like, I mean, it got to the point where he was buying so much that our store in Scarborough, he bought the entire plaza.
Wow.
That's how he was. And he was very fearless like
And
that.
in like buying and owning in Toronto, especially at that time, that's like you're building wealth, not just for today, but for generations to come. That's awesome.
Yes. So that's where I really got it from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fortunate. Not a lot of women for sure, and definitely blacks, people of color,
Yes.
end up with families and fathers who end up creating these opportunities for their family and then for their children to pass it along.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So that was his mindset. So for me to approach him and to say, okay, Dad, you know, I'm gonna get this job. I got this job. Be like, no, no, I didn't put all of this together so that So
you knew that you couldn't even suggest it.
I couldn't even suggest it. I couldn't even suggest it because there would have definitely been a tug of war, right? And he was very his demeanor was very rigid, right? Especially when you've been in business for a long time and you're starting from nothing.
Yeah, no, because he knew the work that it took to get to where he was, and in those times as well.
Yes, in those times.
That's not easy.
Yes,
accomplishments. That's like he was taking risks and entering into fields, and we know that even still today, entering into arenas and spaces where it wasn't commonplace for people of color or black men, black women, right? Real estate is an endeavor that I absolutely, and I think you can probably speak to that more naturally too. Like, what were some of the challenges that you faced as a real estate investor, as a black woman?
As a black woman, because I was taking over some of the properties, there were renovations that were required, but before I get to that, I just wanted to say that, like on my own, with my own personal home, I must have bought and flipped about 6 or 7 times.
Okay.
Right, and that's where I began to learn.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The value of real estate and what the wealth that you can actually acquire, right? So when I started taking over properties and started managing them, and I had to get into the renovation process of it, and then I was dealing with a lot of different types of, primarily men, contractors.
I must say, it's a male-dominated industry. I don't think we're wrong to say that, and I think everyone can appreciate and understand that, whether they're male or female. Because I've had men say to me, "Oh, like, where's your husband?" Or "Where's your partner?" This is me. I do it. My husband's not interested. And so it's not right. So they don't expect to see a woman.
So like when you gotta get a quote on something, or the pipe is frozen, and whatever busted, you gotta get a quote or something. Like I have found that you're not really getting the same pricing as if I approach them and then I say, okay, this is my husband, right, alongside with me.
Yeah, because now it's assumed that your husband knows more and understands more, and so they can see when they've improved the price substantially because you're a woman.
Exactly.
Right, but men tend to know better and more. I guess they're assuming that you don't know anything about plumbing, you don't know anything about electrical.
I just think it's an assumption.
It's an assumption.
And even if somebody may not be knowledgeable in that area, I just don't think that it's correct for people to take disadvantage of others who may not be aware of that industry, because we are all knowledgeable in our own way in different areas.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So I just don't.
And people, so you could read through them and see maybe this price is slightly inflated. Maybe it isn't really the price because I don't have a husband next to me to look it over.
Or even sometimes when the work is being done, it's like I was telling you, like say they're running piping and it's doing it.
You feel that you've been challenged in your real estate business is your properties and your project that you want to build on Eglinton Avenue in Toronto.
Yes.
Maybe maybe we can talk about some of those challenges, or even some of the challenges, not just that you experience, but the people and the businesses within that area.
Yes.
And maybe describe the area first.
Okay, well, the area, when I was growing up, the area was a predominantly Jamaican Canadian community, and a lot of the businesses cater to the Jamaican culture, whether it be food, beauty supply, hair, clothes. So it was very unique in that way, and a lot of people would from the West Indies would come to that side, and even felt like a part of home, right?
Yeah. It was referred to as Little Jamaica.
Yeah. So it was very vibrant back then. However, as time went on, the city decided that they were going to create the LRT, and along that strip, they had put up a station there, which everybody, like, I think it's good to have transit.
Absolutely.
At the same time, it disrupted a lot of the businesses, and as a result, over time, a lot of the businesses ended up closing down, and the business owners have been out there for, like, we're talking like 25, 30 years.
Yeah, so like it's been generations and decades for them, right?
Yes.
This is because you grew up.
I grew up there. So
And many of those businesses, they too and their families would have grown up through that.
yes,
And I know I didn't grow up there. I was, more West End here.
yeah,
But I know a lot. We all went there.
Yeah.
We all went to the Eglinton area because of the vibrancy of the culture, the Caribbean culture. You could feel it. It was alive. Like you said, everything was there. We could get everything done. But so that disruption, how did it get disrupted, and what was it that was disrupting the businesses that maybe led to some people having to shut their business down?
Well, the main disruption was the actual construction of putting the station at Oakwood, because they obviously they closed a lot of the roads. There was no parking. A lot of customers couldn't come there and park. They would park a lot of the equipment right in front of the stores. So
you would
exposure, like
your visibility from the road is gone now,
Yeah.
and then you can't even get people driving down the road. Because I know myself, I avoided that area.
Yeah, exactly.
I avoided it because even if I went there, I would end up getting stuck in traffic.
Yes.
And I absolutely, you're right. I couldn't. I mean, in Toronto, if you can't park, what can you do?
Exactly. Exactly. So it really contributed to a lot of the businesses closing down. And then after that, during that time, moving forward, came COVID, and it was just like a double whammy for everybody else.
Yeah, so I could see, because I know COVID would have led to further challenges, right?
Yeah.
Because now we couldn't even, most of the times, we weren't even open, we weren't even operational. We had been in many lockdowns.
Yeah.
But what do you feel like as an owner yourself there? What was the sentiments among other owners, other than the disruption to the road? Like, what was it that they felt like they lacked or didn't have that could have helped them maybe stay in business longer?
Yeah, a lot of people lacked the financial compensation from the government in helping them to keep their business afloat. Yes, the BIA is out there, but they only help to a certain degree.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And they only have so much money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're getting it from the same place that we want it to come from, the government.
Yes.
And
So and then there was also like a lack of knowledge, I would say, on the community, like
absolutely
on our part, because obviously Eglinton is not the first place that this has happened to, right? But due to that lack of knowledge as well, it contributed to a lot of the businesses shutting down.
Yeah. And it's also an underserved community as well. So maybe in some of the other areas where it occurred, right, similar situation, maybe they were armed with more knowledge or access to resources.
Yes.
unlike, you know, little Jamaica.
Unlike little Jamaica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I did attend a couple events in that area during that time. And one of them was with the Face Coalition, which is an organization that was specifically providing funding, especially through COVID and beyond, to help Black businesses up to 250,000 you could get access to by
Yeah.
applying.
Mhm.
And so I don't think that it was widely known because there
I
were
don't
so
think so,
many
yeah.
businesses that I asked, well, have you used this or have you applied? And sometimes people don't even want to apply Natahsia because they don't know, they feel like I won't qualify, I don't have good credit or I don't have the resources, you know, and so they feel uncomfortable
Yeah.
feeling that they may not have the know-how or even the means, because sometimes depending on how they're reporting and or whether they have a business plan, like all of those things were requirements, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that having resources, some of the other communities, they come equipped and armed.
Yeah.
We may not have the same.
I don't think that, 100%. But the only thing that I find though is that like from Marley to Oakwood, that's where you can visually see that there have been a lot of changes. From Marley, let's just say Marley going up to Eglinton West Subway Station, there has not been much changes.
Yeah. So do you know the predominant group of individuals that is in that pocket? Oh,
It's a different type of
cultural.
culture, ethnicity.
So some people have more power, they're equipped, because I do think that it has something to do with the ability of those owners in that area. They know and or have the knowledge to work with politicians and city officials and the like to ensure their interests are being addressed.
Yeah. 100%.
We've got to get together more as people of color and Black people to ensure that our interests, our needs, especially in those respects, because Little Jamaica was a pretty big, substantial part of Toronto and that area for the longest time.
For the longest time. And I think our voices need to be heard a lot louder. Especially, you know, with the mayor, even the prime minister.
Absolutely.
Like I mean, you even some of the reps in the area, like the MPs, I find that they could be a lot more helpful than what they've currently done.
Yeah. Because for them to see it go away doesn't mean anything. It's us that it has the greatest impact on you and the other owners that are in that area. And myself, who, you know, have children and family and that need to have an area that can service my cultural and ethnic needs. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, if you were to wrap now and to give, because I think that we've had a really good conversation, but if you were to wrap, what are some key takeaways, some things that you would want to share with other entrepreneurs or upcoming entrepreneurs as tips and advice that you might provide for them?
I think like one of the biggest tips that I would advise, especially somebody trying to get into real estate, is do not be afraid when you hear no. And if you have the mindset of wanting to try, I think that like do not let people deter you and tell you it's too risky, don't try it. Because I have learned a whole lot, of even what it just means to persevere.
Yes.
Right? And real estate taught me perseverance because there were
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, exactly.
You've said you've never had a job. You've never worked a 9 to 5.
Yeah. So it's like it just teaches you to be strong, and it teaches you to persevere, even if you're doing some deals and it does not go the way that you like, or you're breaking even, or you lose. Don't use that as a stepping stone to do better on your next deal that you want to look into. Like, don't let it deter you and tell you to stop and don't pursue it.
Yeah, that's very good. I agree.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I've learned, and I definitely encourage young people to get into it and to learn about it as best as possible, and even just to own a property, rent it out, and just because it's a generational wealth building tool
Absolutely.
that can be used
Yeah.
for your children along the way.
Totally agree. I think real estate, from my experience in research, real estate is one of the most common denominators of individuals who have amassed wealth, who are part of the 5%, who's built wealth.
Yeah.
They've used real estate.
Yeah.
And I mean, you yourself said it. Your father
Yes.
did the same.
He did the
He
same.
built a beauty supply business, but he was still investing and building wealth in real estate.
Yeah.
And he used his the properties that he was running his business from as a way to own them and make sure that he added that to his entrepreneur or business acumen. So
Yeah.
he's definitely provided you with a lot of strength. But I love that. Persevere and don't give up. Don't let no's or challenges discourage you.
Yeah.
Be strong and push forward. And of course, use real estate. If you don't own something that you rent out, even, right? At least own something of your own to
Yes.
start.
Yeah.
But absolutely, if you can own it and rent it out, I think that's
And I think the
Great.
earlier you start, the better it is for you.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're
I'm
welcome.
so pleased. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
joining
having
us.
me.
Yeah.
I thank you for inviting me and having me here.
Yes, I absolutely loved having you on this episode, and I know that you've provided a lot of value, not just to myself, but to our listeners.
Yes.
And I think that your story is amazing, and I can't wait to hear how you pursue and continue on your endeavor with that commercial unit. So,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
commercial residential unit.
Yes.
Thank you, Natashia,
Okay, you're welcome.
for joining us.
Thank you.